The Acropolis and Ancient Agora tickets are finally available to book for the month of May. Now, normally all summer tickets for the entirety of the summer are put online at the same time, which would be on April the 1st. But this year, the Greek Ministry of Culture has a new IT system, from what I heard, and it seems they're going to be uploading the tickets month by month. I'm going to keep an eye on all of this, obviously, and I'll keep you posted. But if you're coming to Greece in May, go book your tickets now. There's only 2,000 tickets per time slot, and you do not want to miss out. I'm going to leave the link to book your tickets down below, but this is only if you plan to visit the Acropolis or the Ancient Agora on your own. If you have booked or will book a guided tour, then the tickets are included in what you're going to get, and you don't have to buy your tickets separately. The Acropolis Museum tickets, however, are already online for the entire year, so those you can already book from now, and the link is down below as well. Now, a few things regarding the Acropolis that not everyone seems to have understood properly. The word Acropolis refers to the entire hill, while the Parthenon is just one of the multiple temples located at the top of that hill. The other temples and monuments up there are the Erechtheion, which is a temple devoted to Athena and Poseidon and has the six super famous caryatids. The Propylaea, which used to be the entrance gate to the Acropolis, but it was much more than a simple gate. It was more like a long tunnel. The Temple of Athena Nike, which was restored in its entirety in 2010. The Theater of Dionysus, built in the 4th century by the Greeks, and the Herodeon amphitheater, built by the Romans 200 years later and fully restored in the 1950s. And the reason I'm mentioning all these places one by one is because some of you seem to believe that these are all separate archaeological sites for which you need to buy one ticket each, but no. Everything I just mentioned is on the Acropolis Hill, which requires only one ticket. Now, coming back for a second to the Herodeon, I want to clarify something I said in a recent video, which triggered many questions and some frustration. I said that the Herodeon would be closed for restorations for 3 years starting in 2026, and some people reacted saying, "Damn it, I was looking forward to entering the Herodeon during my Acropolis visit." While actually you were never allowed to enter the Herodeon to start with, you would only ever see it from above, like you're seeing here. But it was always fenced off. The only way to get inside would have been to attend an evening concert, which are held nearly every day in June, July, and August. And those concerts, that's what's not going to be happening for the coming 3 years. But you will still be able to see the amphitheater from above while visiting the Acropolis. That's not changing. All right, a few other things you should know regarding the Acropolis. Wear good grippy shoes, because all these marble staircases are the slickest thing you've ever stepped on. Bring a sun hat and water, because it's going to be hot. Don't look online for the combo ticket that allows you to visit all archaeological sites of Athens for a discounted price. This was discontinued by the Greek state in 2025 after they probably realized they were losing a lot of money. And the same goes for the discounted winter tickets. All archaeological sites used to be half price between November and March. That is gone too. Opening hours of the Acropolis are 8 to 8 from April to August, 8 to 7 in September, 8 to 6 in October, and 8 to 5 from November to March. Something else, there are a few days when you can visit the Acropolis free of charge, but guess what? This is when everyone goes, especially the locals and the local schools. And so the site on those days is the most crowded you can imagine. And it's basically the worst time to visit it. So I would not go on these days personally. Another pro tip. If you're visiting the Acropolis on your own, try to enter the Acropolis site 15 minutes after the start of your time slot, because most tourists who have the same time slot as you will enter at the earliest possible moment, which is 15 minutes before the time slot. So if you've booked the 10 a.m. time slot, for instance, most people will want to enter at 9:45. So if you get there at 10:15, you're half an hour behind everyone, and so you will get to see everything with way less people around you. And finally, the biggest pro tip of all, try and visit the Acropolis in the very early morning, 8 a.m., 9 a.m., somewhere there. This is the only time of the day the site is beautifully empty. From 10 a.m. all the way until closure, it's going to be very packed. And so I'm going to leave down below a group tour and a private tour of the Acropolis that starts at 7:45 and lasts for 2 hours. And they both also have an option to have a tour of the Acropolis plus the Acropolis Museum, and that lasts 4 hours in total. And yeah, I definitely recommend bundling the Acropolis with something else, which would either be the Acropolis Museum, as we just saw, or the ancient Agora. Now, I've realized no one online is really talking about what the ancient Agora is exactly and why it's such an important site. So let me quickly bring you up to date so that you can decide if you'd rather bundle the Acropolis with the Acropolis Museum or with the Agora. The Agora was this huge open square in the middle of the city, surrounded by all the most important buildings in town, like the Parliament building, the Courts of Justice, and so on. On the square itself, it would mostly have been a huge market where you could find food, of course, but also pottery, textile, leather, metal items of all sorts, and so on. And in case you're wondering, all these images you're seeing here come from the excellent Assassin's Creed Odyssey video game, renowned for its remarkably accurate depiction of ancient Greece. And then, located all around the market, you had the Herodeon, which was the Parliament building, where the so-called Council of 500 was continuously brainstorming for new laws. Don't forget that Athens is the city that invented democracy. It wasn't just the Greeks who invented democracy, it was the Athenians specifically. And where did the Athenians vote and debate on new laws? On the Agora, nowhere else. So you can see why it's such an iconic place. This here was the Court of Justice, because yeah, of course, once you're a democracy, you also need to build a judicial system so that laws can actually be enforced. There was also a massive temple devoted to Hephaestus and Athena Errani, which were the two gods of arts and crafts, which made sense since this temple was located just next to the potters' workshops and the marble sculptors who wanted the nearby presence of the gods of craftsmanship. And then on the side of the Agora, you also had multiple stoa buildings, which are these long colonnades which would offer some shade during the hottest hours of the day. And this is where philosophy was born, by the way, since philosophers like to debate about the meaning of life literally from sunrise till sunset. They had to find a spot where they would not burn to a crisp, and the Stoa buildings were perfect for that. That's where the word Stoicism comes from, by the way. And then on the main square next to the market, you would also have the very first theater plays of humankind, because yeah, that's also something Athens invented, and there were also lots of street musicians playing left and right. Now, I'm sure you're wondering what instruments and what type of music was being played in Athens 2,500 years ago, so here's 10 seconds of that. Nice, right? So yeah, the Agora was the birthplace of democracy, philosophy, justice, and theater. So you can see why I keep repeating that you should visit this site. And of course, this is the perfect example of a place you need to visit with a guide, because apart from the temple of Hephaestus that is somehow still standing in its entirety, and the Stoa of Atalos that was restored entirely 70 years ago, there's not a whole lot that survived in the Agora. And so not only will the guide be able to explain where each building would have been, but this is also where you'll hear much more about the daily life of Athenians, since that's where regular Athenians were spending their days. The Acropolis was a purely religious place with not a lot going on, to be honest. The real life of the real people was down in the Agora. Now, unfortunately, there's no guided tour that includes the Acropolis Museum, and the Agora, which I kind of understand because this would take like 7 to 8 hours, which would be a bit rough. But there's plenty of guided tours that either do Acropolis plus Acropolis Museum or Acropolis plus Ancient Agora. Now, can you guess which of the two I would personally go for? The Agora one. Even though I think the Acropolis Museum is fantastic too, but the thing is, the Agora is the birthplace of so many concepts that we're still relying 100% on today. And if you're a museum buff, no worries, you can still book a guided tour of the Acropolis Museum on its own, and you can do that on another day. Oh, and by the way, very important, if you go and visit the Agora on your own without a guide, two things you should know. One, definitely book your ticket online ahead of time, otherwise you'll end up in these long queues like you have at the Acropolis. And number two, skip this line you're seeing and go and scan your ticket right away. This line is only to buy a paper ticket, even though it's not clearly indicated. So don't stand in line, you can actually overtake all these people and enter the site right away. So yeah, I'm gonna leave a bunch of links down below. First, I'm going to put the links to book entry tickets to the Acropolis Museum, and the Ancient Agora, in case you plan on visiting some of these on your own. And then I will link all the guided tours that I mentioned in this video, which are all bookable from now already for the entire season, by the way, even though the Acropolis tickets are not online yet. Because you know, these tour operators know they will get the tickets at some point, and so they're already selling guided tours that include the tickets into the future, even though the tickets are not there yet. So I'm gonna leave you the links to book a 7:45 a.m. Acropolis group tour, which also gives you the option to do it with the Acropolis Museum. You don't have to, but it's an option. The same, but with later hours in case 7:45 is a bit too early for you. A group tour of the Acropolis plus the Agora starting at 9, and this is for me the hidden gem one. A group tour of the Acropolis Museum only in case you booked the hidden gem, but you still want to see the museum. And then a private tour in case you prefer having a guide for yourself. And this one covers all the different options. So you can choose between Acropolis only, Acropolis plus Museum, and Acropolis plus Agora. And you can choose what time you want the tour to start at, the earliest being at 7:30, which of course is great to avoid the crowds. And very important, whatever you book, make sure to always select the option with entry tickets. It's 1,000 times easier to do it that way rather than having to figure out when and how to book your ticket on your own. All right, I'm gonna leave you with these two videos: the amazing day trip from Athens to the monasteries in the mountains of Meteora, and another great day trip to go on from Athens to the two nearby islands of Agistri and Aegina. And there you go, that's it for today. Hope you liked it. See you in this one. Bye.